Hello and welcome to the Sugar Coated Marketing Podcast, where you get sweet advice on how to improve your marketing and grow your business. I am David Paris, your host, and in this podcast series, I interview top experts who give advice on the subjects of marketing, copywriting, advertising, and we even throw in a hint of self-development. Today we have a value-packed interview with Charlie Wallace of GuitarMasteryMethod.com, a company that Charlie started when he was only 16. He's grown his email list to over 50,000 subscribers. The first 15 minutes of this show talk about his background, then we transition into product launches and some really cool things that Charlie has done to grow his business. Charlie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and great to be here, David.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. I'm really glad that we could do this too, because I actually personally learned a lot from you during the masterclass for the Ask Method when you were part of the mastermind group that I had started, specifically in regards to Facebook ads. But before we dive into that, if someone isn't familiar with you or your website, give us a little bit of background on yourself. You know, where are you at? How did you get started with guitar, and then how to become a business?
Cool. All right. Well, for me, playing guitar sort of started. I remember when I was really young, I was at school, and I thought, in primary school, which I think in New Zealand, obviously my accent's a little different, which is elementary school in the States, I do believe. I remember, just seeing guitars and thinking, hey, it'd be cool to play, and then. We didn't have a guitar teacher at the school, so when I did start playing, it was just like one of the school teachers who knew, I think, like G, D, and A, and that was about it. And so I kind of got sick of it and gave it up. But then when I was probably about 13, 14, I heard Paranoid by Black Sabbath, and I just thought that would be one of the coolest things ever to play on guitar. So I just looked up, found some guitar tabs, and they sort of made a little bit of sense to me. So I've been playing guitar ever since, and been pretty much lived it for pretty much ever since that, to be honest. Then I've done the whole band thing, still doing the band thing, and had some opportunities to go play internationally over in Europe, and so the way it changed into a business for me was I was working at a music shop for a long time, and I think that for anyone who's a guitar player, they should go work at a good music store, because if you really want to learn a lot about guitar, because to live in that environment for so long, you learn so much about the hardware of the instruments, and then just through that process of being there, the amount of people that you actually get to communicate with is just awesome, and then so the amount of people you can learn guitar from as well, you just ask a few people, tips here and there. But obviously it didn't necessarily pay too well being at a music shop. So I started teaching guitar lessons, and I got into schools and stuff. The funny thing was, I actually got kicked out of school, and then the next year I was actually in schools teaching, getting paid more to teach guitar than these teachers getting paid with their regular job per hour.
That's pretty funny.
So it's a little bit of an odd transition, to be honest, like going from being, problem student to sitting in staff rooms. I didn't actually didn't teach at the same school that I was actually, that I'd actually left, but it was still an odd transition nonetheless. And then so I released an ebook online with some, guitar speed exercises. That was around 2006, and I only used, free advertising to get that out, and I got a few sales. They trickled in here and there, but definitely the income wasn't life-changing, and to be honest, the product wasn't, life-changing as far as what it could deliver to the students. I mean, the stuff in it was good, but it was kind of getting. All around that time was when video first started coming out. I think around 2008, video got really big online. And then as soon as that happened, it was like this big shift away from, especially people in, learning guitar, niche. It was like, I don't want a PDF with some sound clips. I want videos to show me. I mean, if people are wanting to learn online, right?
Absolutely.
So then I kind of decided that I've got to create this course. I've got to create a kick-ass course that's actually going to, deliver awesome results. So, like obviously life got in the way. I was pretty young at the time. And then so it just kind of got to a point where I was in a huge amount of debt, and, the band was going well, but we didn't have enough money to fund the stuff we wanted to do. And it was just, having to borrow money to get our CDs pressed and just hoping that we made enough on the CD release date to pay it back and that kind of thing. And then so I just decided, right, I'm going to do it. I had no idea about this big giant world of internet marketing that I live in now. I just thought I'll create a course, and as soon as the course is finished, then I'll put it up for sale and all the hard work will be done. Little did I know that was when the hard work would begin. But I was like doing a crazy amount of stuff at the time, doing promotional stuff for the local music venue, working at that music shop, teaching guitar at home, teaching guitar in schools, creating websites for people. I basically taught myself how to create a website when I was younger, just so I could get out, this ebook that I'd released. So I sat down and I just thought, right, well, if I could create a guitar course that I could send back to the younger version of myself with everything that I know now that, took me so long to learn, if I could create something so that I could send it back and I could learn it in, a much shorter amount of time, what would be in that course? And so I just set out and creating this mammoth course. And just because I was doing so much at the time, it did take so long to get done. And I had to teach myself how to do every single little thing from, video editing to, creating PDFs and all that kind of stuff, purely because there's no way I could pay anyone to help me out with it. Luckily, I was able to convince a friend of mine, and he was able to convince a friend of his. We had a whole lot of video gear to record my videos, and I said that, I'll just pay them back once I got it up for sale. And so it was a really good feeling when I could pay those guys back, because it took a while, after recording and then having to edit this huge amount of video. So, I got the course out, and as I said, I thought all the hard work was over, and then started doing some research. Just before I released it, I came across Jeff Walker's product launch formula, and that really changed everything to do with the way I thought of internet marketing.
Just to give you guys listening some context, when Charlie released that ebook that he was talking about in 2006, he's only 16 years old, because Charlie and I are actually the same age. We're both 26 now, but I don't think that you realized it at the time, but like doing something like that, you were actually on the forefront of internet marketing back then. I just wanted to give those listening some context, and then fast forward to would that have been like 2009, around 2009 when you found the product launch formula?
No, it was a little bit later than that, because as I mentioned, life did kind of get in the way a little bit with the whole business kind of thing. And so it was like, well, when I was 16 and I did release my first product, I was expecting it to, I just thought, right, build it and they'll come. All the stuff, you see online of, people making heaps of money. So I thought, right, this is my ticket, and then so it was actually, it would have been 2014 when I found Product Launch Formula, because that's when I actually released Guitar Mastering Method. And it was, I'd literally spent 3 years creating the product, purely because of how much stuff I had going on at the time. As I mentioned, it was, almost impossible to find, full days that I could actually work on it. So once I had everything ready, then I found Product Launch Formula. I dug into that, and then and that, as I said, that just changed everything for me. It changed the way I viewed absolutely everything. And then so I started out with this one course, and I called it Guitar Mastering Method. And then I realized that people were wanting more. I mean, I thought I created something where people couldn't ask for any more. But it just goes to show you that I had a marketer guy say, just keep building courses, because people will just always want more, especially in enthusiast markets like, guitar stuff. So, I started creating, more courses. And the one thing I'd say that was a huge change in mindset for me was that I started doing this to make money, right? I was in debt and I knew that I had a good way of teaching guitar. So I started to, actually thought, right, I can use this to make money. I can use this to get out of debt, and I could, possibly make a living off this. And that was my sole focus. However, it wasn't until I started getting some of these testimonials through, and I actually did a little bit of work with a guy that was, quite up there as far as internet marketing strategies and that kind of stuff. And he said, "Where's your testimonials?" And I just, gave him a link, and then so he went through and just found screeds and screeds and screeds of Facebook comments. And then he came back and he was like, "Dude, have you read all of these?" And I was like, no, I haven't. He was like, you really should. Like, these people love you. You're like changing their lives. And this guy wasn't a guitarist at all. He was just, sort of making an observation. So I went through, and it was probably one of the most inspiring things that I've ever done, was to read through the testimonials and to realize how much of an impact that I can make from, or anyone can make from just, like doing the thing that they love and sharing it. And it was like just having that switch of like, hey, I don't have to do this to make money. I can do this to actually just try and help as many people as possible. And then the money is just the side benefit of that. Yeah. So that for me was just, ever since I made that switch, business has become easier. It's and it was kind of one of those things. I'd heard people say this before, like, oh, if you're doing it for money, like, and it's good. Of course, everyone does it for money. I mean, it's like it's like the people who love their job, they wouldn't go if they didn't get paid. But the thing is, it's having that change of mindset where you are like, right, what can I do to best serve the customers, not what can I do to make the most amount of money. And it's just that understanding of, it's the value. How much value can you give to someone? And if you can give someone more value than they give you in the, value in cash, then that's just a win-win situation, because, you're getting paid for the thing you love and they get amazing results. And then, so, I mean, from there, it's just been, the business has evolved a hell of a lot. I released, the course in August 2014. Since then, the name's actually changed to Guitar Mastery 101, and the business is called Guitar Mastery Method. And, I've got, multiple courses. I'm releasing a Texas Blues course next month. It'll be late next month. I'm expecting it to be released. And for instance, that's just a perfect example of my guys asking me, hey, can you make this? This is what we want. And I'm like, okay. So I've been working relentlessly hard to make sure this is going to be the best Texas Blues course that could ever possibly be made by my hands anyway, And so, yeah, I mean, that's really the evolution of the business, how I, started playing guitar the whole way through, really.
Yeah, and I can directly resonate with that, because that was really the whole purpose of why I started findyournextguitar.com. It was really a passion project that had started for me, where basically I just began collecting things that I had learned. And I mean, at this point, I've spent thousands of hours learning guitar. I've been playing for over 15 years. And I put together basically a file of stuff so I personally wouldn't forget it. And also, if I ever came across someone that was a younger musician or someone that was just learning how to play, that I could share it with them so that they could take some of the struggles that I had when I was learning and some of the tips and techniques that I had learned. And I put together a package that basically was something that I wish that I could have gone back in time and gave to my younger self. I started a podcast for the site as well, and because I created such great content, it actually gave me some really fantastic opportunities to interview some of the top and most respected professional guitar players in the world. Guys like Yannis Papadopoulos, who was the number 3 ranked guitar player in the world when I interviewed him, as well as bands like Smash Mouth.
Nice.
Yeah, and probably the greatest takeaway I have from doing that too was meeting Joshua Hernandez, who's actually now my business partner. And I initially met him because I had interviewed him for the guitar site. And it's interesting how when you take the mindset, when you shift your mindset away from how do I make money with this to how can I really help people and make a difference, it's amazing what happens in the connections that you make through it. Because now it's not focused on you; it's focused on helping people. And obviously, with what you've done, I mean, you have a list that has almost 50,000 people on it now for guitar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now that we have an idea of what you built, let's dive into how you actually built your list and what you do with some of your launches, as well as what you're doing with Facebook ads to optimize them.
Okay, well, so the way I actually built that was, creating just some awesome lessons. And it's like, with, I think Eben Pagan uses the term, move the free line. So you end up giving away a whole lot more than you'd expect. And then so, the way Jeff Walker talked about it was just to say that, give away your best stuff. So I was like, right, well, what can I do? What's something I can give away for free out of my course that will have the biggest difference, make the biggest difference in, these people's guitar playing. And so I released like a free lesson series that, just basically simplified guitar scales for people, because I knew that was a huge pain point. So I created this three video series that showed people how to be able to solo in any key, even if they've never even played a single guitar scale before. And, gave them a few backing tracks. So it was a lot of stuff that I gave away for free. And then so what I did is I just ran Facebook ads to an opt-in page. And I done a lot of split testing on the opt-in page. And that was one thing that I definitely ignored in the beginning, was just the whole split testing thing. It wasn't until I actually ran my first split test that I realized how much I'd left on the table because of how crappy my first opt-in page was and how good I had managed to make the second one that I was split testing against. So I just literally ran really simple ads that I think even the ad just said free guitar scales, learn guitar scales free. And that was like, on the picture, obviously complying with the Facebook 20% rule. And, so I was able to go through that and, just had a really consistent opt-in rate. People love the lessons. So naturally, if people love the free stuff you give them, they want to get more. They want to, buy into your big course. And then so it was just literally just a constant flow of doing that. And, I can't remember exactly how much I was getting per lead, but it was around like $1.25. And it wasn't until I, went through, for instance, Ryan Levesque's, Ask Method Masterclass, and then created just a single segmentation opt-in. And for this one, it's like, for people who don't know, Ryan Levesque's method, you do a DDS, a deep dive survey, get a huge amount of information, ask very specific questions. It's not as simple as just doing a survey. And then you put people into buckets. And then so on the opt-in itself, people say, it's like, right, I want to, here's the lead magnet. Would you like this? People say yes. Goes through to the next page. And then they actually have one more step where they have to select which bucket they're in before, they actually get to the landing page where it says, hey, cool, here's your thing you wanted. And when I implemented that, I created a lead magnet that was much more simple than the lead magnet that I'd previously done. I mean, the previous thing I'd done was, hey, what's the most amount of stuff I can give away for free that will make the biggest difference? However, the issue with that is the people actually needed to do it. And while the people that did do it had amazing results, the people who, would be overwhelmed, I guess, just didn't consume it at all. So I was, what I found was that after doing the DDS and going through and finding what people were having trouble with, I found that a lot of people were, for instance, having trouble with finding time to actually play guitar. So I thought, right, I'll create I already had a video lesson showing how to actually structure your practice sessions. And so I created a cheat sheet with just basically a few tips on, how to get the most out of your practice sessions. And it was just a PDF. When they get on the page to download the PDF, I give them a video. Okay, the video is about half an hour long. Only about 16 minutes long, cancel that. And a huge amount of value, but I don't even advertise that, right? So, at the end of the day, that's just over-delivery. But here's the interesting thing. Changing from a 3-video series that all in all goes about an hour, has 3 PDFs, 3, jam tracks that they can download, and just, it literally gives amazing results. When I changed from that to just a simple PDF cheat sheet with the extra question in the opt-in field, which theoretically should reduce, opt-in rates, but apparently it slightly boosts it. But I was able to cut my cost per lead down to around 33% of what it was with my previous lead magnet. And that just blew my lights out, going from something that was what I thought was awesome to something that was so simple, and it, cut the price by that much. That blew my lights out.
Could you clarify about what you just said about cutting that? Because I think that might have, if someone wasn't paying close attention, it might have gone over their head a little bit. And I think it's something that could actually make a pretty big impact for probably anyone's business.
Okay, cool. So for instance, previously I was getting opt-ins for around $1.25, right? And after implementing this new lead magnet, very similar landing page, however, it did have that extra question, I was able to cut my cost per lead down to around 40 cents. And sometimes that would literally go down to different campaigns. I'd be getting leads for like 15 cents. And, especially, so for instance, sometimes I'm literally cutting costs by 90%. It's pretty crazy. And so, in that process, what it really showed me is that when it comes to the marketing side of things, you really have to find out what people want, because if you can just match that up, then people are just going to come to you in droves. And as soon as you have them, as soon as they've given you their email address and they've given you permission to email them, then you can start delivering more and more value. Some of those people, obviously the people that come in, even the leads that cost 15 cents, they'll go through, and I'll offer them a course at a special price, and then they take it. And then that's awesome, But obviously most people don't, and you need to, build that relationship. And then so what this allows me to do is, even though I'm not necessarily having the big epic lead magnet on the front, I can have that on the back end to help build the relationship. And then so I don't even necessarily have to give them that specific one, just because I have so much other stuff, other free content that I give out. Right now I'm just sort of playing around with finding, that right balance between what people want and what actually delivers the results. It's like Eben Pagan talks about the chocolate-covered broccoli. It's like, if people want to get healthy, they need to eat broccoli, but they want to eat chocolate, so you give them chocolate-flavored broccoli, So I'm sort of playing with that a little bit at the moment.
For sure. You got to love Eben's analogies. And what people say they want is typically different from what they actually want. But speaking of lead magnets, you mentioned to me that there was an offer that you did that was very successful. That was a free plus shipping offer for a DVD that followed a tripwire format. And why don't you share with us some of the results that you got with that?
Okay, so what I did is I sent out a free plus shipping offer, and that was a DVD with some lessons on it. And so all I did is I literally recorded a few snippets so that it actually made sense in a DVD format and not in purely online. But I took the 3 videos that I had that, as I mentioned, delivered a huge amount of value, and I put them onto a DVD. So I didn't actually necessarily need to do any more work. All I did was just take that content, record tiny little clips here and there at the start and end of each video, just as I said, just so that made sense. And then I just used Kunaki Kunika.com, Kunika. Totally, that's the wrong way. Wait, the A and the I are on the wrong way.com. Just Google it and you'll find it.
Yeah, I'll put a link to it in the description of the podcast because that is a mouthful to say.
Yeah. But basically what they do is they print your DVD for $1 and will send it, almost anywhere in the world for like $4.95 or something. And then so basically for like $6 you can get it sent out. And then so what I was doing is I just put it up, and I really, to be honest, I went and swiped a whole lot of stuff from one of Russell Brunson's free DVD offers, and I could see his sales page and stuff. And I mean, if Russell Brunson is doing it, it's got to be good. So I just basically tried to copy the template of the page as much as possible, and just talk about benefits, and really sold it a whole lot more than, for instance, the optin page that I had, which is just a headline saying, "Hey, this will show you how to play, a guitar solo by yourself," sort of thing. And so I sent that out, and I was absolutely blown away by the response. And then so obviously, I was actually taking a loss on this on the front end. So I'd sent this out purely to my email list, and I found that when I tried to do this with cold traffic, that it didn't actually work very well. That I couldn't actually make it break even. But sending out to just my warm email list. So I mean, if someone was to set this up as a in their sales funnel, but not at the front, just have it at the end. So maybe offer them a product, then offer them this if they don't take it. And it was, the response was just crazy. I think that I had around 5%. It was around 5% of 5 to 7. I can't remember exactly how big my list was at that time, but 5 to 7% of my entire list paid for the shipping for this free DVD. And then on the back end, I offered one of my courses at a discount, and I had around 15% of people take that. And then as soon as that happened, I was instantly massively profitable. It's like, if you imagine even just that the small price that you have to dip on the front end for the DVD is almost like just the advertising cost, right? And and so that just blew me away, like how successful that went. And it was so easy to execute, because the other thing is that, you don't have to worry about anything. You literally send the DVD out, like you just upload your addresses of the people that paid for the shipping, send it out. I mean, I've even seen people pay, charge more, so that they even they're charging like, "Oh, here's your shipping and handling, it's $10," and so they're even making a profit on the front end, and so it's crazy how like at the end of the day, $10 for a DVD anyway, I mean, it's pretty good, especially if it's got some good stuff on it. But for me, I just kind of I just felt like, hey, I want to be honest with these guys, so I just charged them the shipping, took that little bit of a dip on the front end, but man, did it pay off. I mean, I guess that the conversions would have been higher as far as people going through and actually grabbing the DVD, because the price was slightly cheaper and I wasn't necessarily making a profit on it at all. But I mean, the amount of people I got into the courses from that was awesome. That was, to be honest, that is actually my most profitable week. And it was, giving away a free DVD that cost me money. And that was my most profitable week that I've had so far. And, I just, if anyone has an online business and they haven't done a free plus shipping offer, in particular a DVD, I mean, it might not resonate as well with your market as it did with mine, but man, like, you've got to try it.
I think that's great advice, especially in any enthusiast market. Because I mean, with guitar in particular, like I'm totally self-taught, and I did all kinds of online tutorials, and most of it was free and kind of figuring out on my own. Because I was kind of hard-headed, and I thought that I got to a level of playing where, a teacher really couldn't get me to the next level. I needed to learn from someone that was like a pro. So I mean, as you're talking about it, I'm thinking, man, I need to pick up your DVD.
I'll send you a copy, man. I'll send you a copy. Cool. Yeah. So it's the other thing was that I know some people that have been running really successful free plus shipping offers on Facebook. For instance, one is in the dog market, and they have like a dog whistle that they have, free plus shipping, and then offer a product on the back end. Another one's actually like a cowboy roping DVD, and that is absolutely crushing it for them. After they get the DVD, they offer like a continuity membership. But the other great thing that it does is, how I mentioned that content is so good. And as I said, the people that went through it, they got awesome results. People who didn't go through it obviously got no results, and they have no idea how good that content is. By reframing it into a DVD and sending it out, I had a whole lot more people go through it. And then obviously when people go through something like that and they get awesome results, they come back to your website. And then so not only is it good for making money, but it's good for actually getting people to go through your stuff. Because, it's just that intrinsic value of something they can actually hold and put in their DVD player, is absolutely priceless. One pro tip that I would say that I totally mucked up the first time is just to make sure that you have two versions. You have an NTSC version and a PAL version, and you look up to see which countries, run different versions, or else you're going to have to talk to a whole lot of people that are angry that your DVD doesn't play because it's in a different, not zone, but DVD technology, whatever it is. So that was a bit of a pain in the butt to deal with. But as long as you do sort that out before you run this, then you'll save yourself a huge headache.
I'm glad that you said that, because that's something that I wouldn't have even ever thought of. But it's you have to look at that kind of stuff when you're doing international business and stuff online, because when you have clients in all kinds of different countries, it goes down to it goes back to giving them what they want. And if you're not giving them stuff that works on their equipment, then you're not setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really glad that you touched on being profitable in the back end, because I think it's a novice mistake that a lot of people are making, and not just those that are new to online marketing, but people that are have maybe been in business for 10 years and they're first coming online. Maybe it was a brick and mortar store that they're just starting to run Facebook ads or something like that. But it's almost ignored. The back end is almost totally ignored.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of something that Brian Kurtz says, where if you just have one promotion, you don't have a business, you have a promotion. You need to have a whole funnel. Even if you just have a funnel that sells one or two products, it's not really a business, and that can quickly be gone, or you could quickly go out of business. So you need to create a brand that is congruent, and you need to have multiple products, and you need to have fantastic content on the front end. And that's actually the best way to become profitable on the back end, because if you're giving away great content for free and people want more of it, then they're just naturally going to buy what you have on the back end.
It's very true, man. That is, yeah. I actually had I was talking with Anik Singhal, and I was asking him basically how I can, scale my business, how can I take it up a level. And he basically just asked what was on my back end, and then just was like, I was offering like, a continuity offer, like $1 trial into a continuity offer. And he just said, change it to something that's, like $100. And then if as a downsell, take part of it out and offer, the rest of it as $50. And so I was like, okay. And then so he said a few other things as far as, the continuity is great. However, most people just don't even stick in there very long. And, you have to, like, average people will stay in, like, if it's $1 trial for the first month, 50% of those people are going to drop off in the first month. And then people are only going to stay on average 3 to 4 months. And you have to, wait all that time to get that money. And it's, especially with the, stage of trying to scale up, he was just saying that cash flow is the most important thing. Get that money now, so I changed my upsells. And as soon as I did that, my average order value, it didn't double, but it jumped up by 50%. And then so that just allows me to be a whole lot more comfortable spending more on advertising to, I can, instead of just breaking even, I can, actually be profitable with that back end. So it's, playing around with things on, especially with your first upsell, because that is obviously the one that gets the most attention. Play around with that. If something's working at a lower price point, try bundling stuff together and putting it more. Like my first upsell is like a bundle of my products. It's like, hey, you've got this first product. How about you complete the collection? Would you like the rest of them here? You've got one chance to get them at a massive discount. And people who are into consuming content, they'll take it.
Absolutely, especially in an enthusiast market like guitar, because it's one of those things that if you're all in, you buy all the products that a company releases. I mean, within reason, because most people can't spend $1 million a year on guitar.
Yeah.
But I mean, guys like you and me, when you have a brand that you like and they come out with a new product, it's you don't even think about it. It's like, I want that.
Yeah, definitely.
So being able to create that kind of business and that kind of connection with your clients on the back end, I think is key to winning the internet marketing race, if you will.
100%. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, people who've bought one product. I mean, it was more for me, to be honest. When I started doing this stuff, I had to break a lot of my limiting beliefs to do with money. I didn't necessarily grow up in a rich family by any means. And, when I went out on my own, I remember going to the supermarket being like, right, so I need food for me and my lady, and I need some cat food and some toilet paper and hopefully some petrol. How much have I got? I've got $2.60. All right, how can I make this work? And I remember being in that position, more often than not. And so from going to that to being like, right, so here's a product for $47, and then on the back end, I'm going to offer it to you for $97. I didn't feel right doing it. And it was for so long. It was absolutely bizarre how much I think people let their limiting beliefs interfere with the prices that they charged for the products.
Yeah, without question. That's actually something Mary Shakun and I went in depth on in the first episode of this podcast, as well as Darren Hardy, who's a mentor of mine, has a really great quote on this. And that is, price resistance is in the mind of the seller, not the buyer. The marketplace takes you at your own self-appraisal. And I think that's a really powerful statement, because how many people don't charge a higher price because they think people won't buy it, when if they actually took the product to market at a higher price or asked their customers, they might say that, well, your product was $100, but with the value I got from it, I would have expected to pay $1,000. And how often do people just not raise their prices just because they have their own limiting beliefs? So I'm really glad that you said that.
Cool. I mean, and I guess the other side of that coin is the fact of, I mean, obviously your prices can eventually be too high where it hurts conversion, but it's like, Brian Dice talks about, like just testing a price, like starting small. There's no reason why you can't start at a cheap price, because, you can't necessarily test with low numbers buying a high ticket price, but, like you can just keep raising that price until you see your profitability drop down. I mean, you may make less sales, but if you're making more money per sale, you might be better off charging $100 for your product than $50 for a product, and you just don't know without testing.
one of my favorite questions to ask clients sometimes, I mean, most of the time it's not applicable, but sometimes in services like web design, or copywriting, or something really specific where it's a service that no one else can do what you do in the way that you do it, and it can't really be mimicked. Sometimes you ask people the question, if you could double your price, would you be okay with doing that? And oftentimes the response I hear back is, well, if I double my price, I'll lose half my clients, and I'll just kind of sit and wait a minute and see if they realize what they just said, because they're not going to lose any money, and they're going to free up a lot of their time.
Yeah, that is so true.
Especially in a service type business. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny how price works, and how your own beliefs are often why you can't charge what you're worth, not your customers' beliefs.
Yeah, definitely.
The last thing that I wanted to touch on here, Charlie, you're actually right now going through the same copy mentorship program that I went to for copywriting, and it's run by Lucas Rashesky. And now, I mean, until this point, you've never really taken any formal copywriting classes, right?
Not at all. No, I mean, I've literally only copied, people's swipe files and templates. I knew a few phrases worked well, but never looked deeply into it. No.
Now, I believe you guys are in the first week of I think it's a 10-week program. I'm not 100% sure. It's either 10 or 12 weeks. I can't remember. But you guys just finished up the first week, and was that eye-opening to go through? Did you learn anything new, or is it something you think that would be worthwhile and valuable for other people to do?
Oh, 100%. I mean, because the thing is that it's like, I eventually want to get people in to run certain parts of my business, but it's like, Bill Gates, I think it was, says you can't delegate something you don't understand. And I have just really thought, it's like, I wouldn't be, it's kind of different. Like if I wanted to, for instance, hire someone who is a copywriter to do work for me, then that's totally different to, having someone that I'll be kind of like advising and saying, hey, could you, write me some emails and stuff. So I really felt like I needed to, advising someone in my own business, so I felt like I really needed to school myself up. And I think it's like Lucas says, it's just, copywriting is just one of those things where it's just not attractive. Like most people, when they start learning how to, have a business online, it's just the last thing, because it just doesn't seem like, it just doesn't seem like it's something that is sexy by any means. Like, oh, copywriting, let's learn how to write, but at the end of the day, it's one of the most important things. I mean, if your copy sucks, no one's going to buy your stuff no matter how good it is. And so you'll never know, And so through this first week, especially, I'd always heard people talk about getting good at copywriting and hand copying down, with physical pen and paper, great copy, especially the old stuff. And, just kind of gets, subconsciously entwined into your own mind. And so, just doing that, it's like you're really starting to see that just some of the nuances in copywriting, like the pace that it goes, like how things are actually phrased. And so that was a big insight for me. And obviously we had the first assignment that we had to chuck in, and that was awesome. Just going through the webinar with Lucas actually going through and nitpicking everyone's stuff. I took a lot of notes, and so I mean, for anyone out there with any kind of online business, I couldn't recommend it enough. And I've only been in there 1 week so far,
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, I think this is a pretty value-packed interview that we've done. Maybe sometime in the future, we'll definitely have you back on the show at some point in the future.
Cool. Sounds great.
If anyone wants to get in touch with you, or if someone's a guitar player and they're listening to this, and they want to check out some of your products, how can they do that?
Best way to do that is just head along to guitarmasterymethod.com, and you can get in touch with me through the contact page on that. If you have any questions, just get in touch. I've got plenty of free lessons on there, so any guitarists out there, feel free to come along and check them out. And if they're for you, you might want to jump onto a full course. If you do that, you get a bit more interaction with me, and our VIP club is pretty awesome too. We got we have monthly live group lessons. Everyone in there absolutely loves it, and it's kind of a highlight for me every month. I've just got that the next one coming up this Sunday actually, so that's going to be pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, Charlie, until next time, and thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Cheers, David. Catch you later.